Hi, a very good morning. So in part 9 of paper discussion video series, we'll deal with the following topics. I hope you guys are all ready. Right, so let's start with our first question in this video, 18.8 stainless steel. So do clarify whether there are two questions from this topic or is it only one? Because I received keywords 18.8 stainless steel composition or the function of individual constituents. So is it one question or is it asked in separate ways? Do clarify in the comments below. So as you know, 18.8 stainless steel contains 18% chromium and 8% nickel by weight as given in Phillips. And if you remember, we discussed this in our study club discussions as well, right? So let's move on to the next topic. Bell's palsy, image-based question. So as you know, Bell's palsy is one of the most common neurologic disorders affecting the cranial nerves. It is an abrupt, isolated, unilateral peripheral facial nerve paralysis without detectable causes. Idiopathic facial paralysis was first described more than a century ago by Sir Charles Bell. However, there is much controversy still surrounding its etiology and management, and this is diagnosis of exclusion, just like leukoplakia. It's important to keep in mind Bell's palsy is a diagnosis of exclusion, and Bell's palsy is the most common cause of facial paralysis worldwide. And as you can see in this illustration, patient demonstrating typical unilateral paralysis of facial musculature with inability to close the eye or smile on the affected side, isn't it? So let's move on to the next topic. Neva's image-based question, was it a histologic or histopathologic image or is it a clinical image? To clarify. So as you can see, we have different types of nevi, congenital and acquired. Let's review some literature. So oral nevi, also called as oral melanocytic nevus, nevocellular nevus, mole mucosal melanocytic nevi, so several names. So categorized as hamartomas, developmental malformations, the nevi have benign proliferations of nevus cells in either epithelium or connective tissue. Way back in 1943, Ackerman and Field have reported the first case of an oral nevus. And then King et al. Adopted the less anatomically specific term intramucosal nevus for these oral nevi. Adult whites harbor this lesion rather commonly, but intraoral lesions are much less common. Nevi may be classified as congenital or acquired, as you can see, as given by Buckner and Hansen. On the basis of histologic location of nevus cells, cutaneous acquired nevi can be classified into three categories: junctional, compound, and intradermal nevi. They're self-explanatory. Junctional, when nevus cells are limited to basal cell layer of epithelium. Compound nevus cells are in epidermis and dermis, compound. Intradermal nevus, that is common mole, where the nests of nevus cells are entirely in dermis. Right? So let me know if you need any further clarification. Moving on to the next question, bronchus, bronchi, right primary bronchi. These are the keywords which I received. So let's review some information. As you can see, the structure of bronchi, bronchial tree, and lungs. So if you observe, right primary bronchus is comparatively straighter than left primary bronchus, and there is a practical significance because foreign bodies, if enter into this particular area, will lodge into right lung for this very same reason. Let's review some information. Right main bronchus has a large diameter, is oriented more vertically, and is shorter than left main bronchus. The practical consequence of this arrangement is that foreign bodies passing beyond the larynx will usually slip into right lung. Also, let me know if you need any further information or clarification in this regard. Moving on to the next topic, fluorides, different methods of delivery, which we discussed in our E-classes and also in study club discussions previously, and the concentrations and the percentage of caries reduction. So I got keywords like sodium fluoride varnish or stannous fluoride solution, and the concentration of fluorides and caries reduction comparative analysis. So see if this information is helpful in answering the question. Consider this fluoride treatment modalities, the concentration of fluoride, caries reduction, very, very important. Okay. Now let's move on to the next topic, Eagle syndrome. These are the keywords which I received. So as you know, it consists of either elongation of styloid process or ossification of stylohyoid ligament causing dysphagia. sore throat, otalgia, glossodynia, headache, vague orofacial pain or pain along the distribution of internal and external carotid arteries. Moving on, ICCMS caries categories. So let's review some information. International Caries Classification and Management System, ICCMS, and then we have ICDAS, International Caries Detection and Assessment System, according to which we have the following merged categories. So sound surfaces, initial stage caries, moderate stage, and then extensive stage, and you can see corresponding description. See if this information helps you in answering the question. And also along with this, we have ICDAS radiographic scoring system. So I wanted to present these two tables, consider them very important, and let me know if this answers a query. And also consider this topic very, very important. Right? Now, let's move on to the next topic, fruity order diabetes. These are the keywords I received. So as you know, acetone, one of the three primary ketone bodies generated in diabetic ketoacidosis, is notable as a cause of hallmark fruity order breath in case of diabetic ketoacidosis patients. So diabetic ketoacidosis is a severe medical condition involving uncontrolled hyperglycemia and ketoacidosis resulting from impaired insulin utilization. The biochemical response to insulin resistance or deficiency is a ketotic state in which fatty acids are converted to ketone bodies for an alternative energy source. And patients in diabetic ketoacidosis acutely develop severe symptoms, typically over a course of 1 to 2 days, 24 to 48 hours, so comparatively rapid onset. Classic symptoms include nausea, vomiting, lethargy, and altered mental status, and abdominal pain. As the time course of ketoacidosis is relatively rapid, it is rare to identify a developing case of diabetic ketoacidosis prior to symptom onset. Okay, moving on to the next topic, buccolingual cortical expansion, and I got several cysts as keywords, so I tried to incorporate as many as possible based on the information available in Schaefer. So as you can see, left side, so benign cementoblastoma, as you can see in highlighted text, the lesion is slow growing, may cause expansion of cortical plates of bone, but is usually otherwise asymptomatic. Right side top, you can see median mandibular developmental cyst. This seldom produce obvious expansion of cortical plates of bone, seldom or rare. And right middle, you can see central giant cell granuloma may lead to expansion of cortex and perforation, mobility, displacement through desorption of associated teeth. And then osteomas of endosteal origin, they are slow to present clinical manifestations since considerable growth must occur before there is expansion of cortical plates. And again, additional information regarding this cortical expansion in case of neurolemoma also. The central lesions in bone may produce considerable destruction of bone with expansion of cortical plates, resembling a more serious lesion. On the left side, you can see, right? And left bottom, calcifying epithelial odontogenic tumor in mandible demonstrates expansion and thinning of buccal lingual cortical bony plates by a well-defined mass containing scattered radiopaque areas of varying size and signal intensity. And on right side top, you can see OKC. Approximately 30% of maxillary and 50% of mandibular lesions produce buccal expansion. Mandibular lingual enlargement is occasionally seen in case of KOT or OKC, right? And right middle, you can see bone undergoes resorption, but seldom is there a remarkable expansion of cortical plates, as is frequently seen in case of dentigerous cyst. So this is a comparison of radicular cyst with that of dentigerous cyst. And when you compare both, so dentigerous cyst, there is a greater chance or greater frequency of expansion of cortical plates, okay? And then right side bottom, you can see central destruction of bone with expansion of cortical plates, which is prominent in case of ameloblastic odontoma or odontoameloblastoma, right? So this is some literature review related to this cortical expansion. See if any of this helps you in answering your question. If you need more clarification, do let me know, right? Moving on, let's deal with the final topic of this video, cleft lip, reason for cleft lip. Those are the keywords which I received. And this is normal developmental process of head and neck phase, especially. If you observe illustration C, yellow process is fusing with green process. That seems to be normal. But if there is failure of fusion between this yellow process and green process, then it leads to cleft lip, unilateral or bilateral. So what are these yellow and green process? As you can see, yellow process is medial nasal process, green process is maxillary process. So cleft lip is because of failure of fusion of maxillary process with medial nasal process, as obvious in this illustration. Cleft lip is the most common congenital anomaly that is caused by defective fusion of medial nasal and maxillary process during embryonic development, as we just discussed. Approximately 80% of cases are unilateral and 20% are bilateral based on stats. Cleft palate, which results from failure of lateral palatal shells. I mean, you can see palatal shells, secondary palatal shells in illustrations D and D. So failure of fusion of lateral palatal shells can lead to cleft palate, which usually occurs in conjunction with cleft lip, although it also may develop as an isolated defect, right? I hope this clarification is helpful. So these are some of the topics which I wanted to highlight in this specific video. Let us know more keywords in the form of comments, or you can get back to me. We'll try to incorporate them in the upcoming paper discussion videos as soon as possible. I appreciate your love and affection. Wish you all the best. Love you all. Have a fantastic day ahead.